Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 166 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and you're in for a treat today. We were not, but you might be in for a treat. Of course, we're doing our Thanksgiving theme, and our second movie is a movie I found. I literally was searching Thanksgiving-themed movies, and, we did a bunch already. Or we either did a bunch or it was impossible to get. Like there was one I really wanted with Jake Steinfeld. It was a Thanksgiving movie, and it was like, oh god, I want to get this one. It was like some 80s slasher thing, but it's nowhere to be found. I think it might. I mean, maybe we might have been able to rent it. I'm not sure, but I think it was one of those. It was even hard to rent. So I found this one and it had an interesting premise. It's called Ghost Note. We'll get into more of it a bit in the deep dive, but it was interesting to say the least.
We went into this one blind, and as you know, those can be for the good or for the bad.
Yeah, and we went in blind, came out deaf, according to the Ghost Note. But no, seriously, we'll get into a little bit more. Of course, in our deep dive, that should be the treat for you, I guess.
Yes. All right, well, let's get right into it then. This is our first chop. All right, Brian. So first up on the list, I had I'm not going to talk a lot about this one because there's a chance we may have an interview opportunity.
Yes, and I still haven't watched it yet too. So it was a cool screener we got.
Yeah, so there's a production company called Small Town Monsters, and you may have seen some of their movies on Amazon Prime. They do documentaries of different cryptids, which I'm a big fan of. I love anything cryptid related, and I've watched several of their films. And their latest is Mark of the Bell Witch, which tells all about the Bell Witch legend of Tennessee, which is one of my favorite folklore type legends and stories. So I was really excited for this one. There's been several horror movies based on the Bell Witch legend.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen like an actual documentary on it though. I've heard plenty of podcasts around it. Never seen a documentary, and I will say this one was really entertaining, and I learned a lot, and I knew a lot about the Bell Witch legend going in. So even if you think you know everything about the Bell Witch, you may be pleasantly surprised with this one. That's all I'll say about it. We'll go into it more in case we get the interview opportunity, and if not, then when Brian gets to watch it, we'll talk about it in a little more in depth.
Yeah, and and then I could tell my story about a similar legend too. On top of that, we'll double down about the Taco Bell witch, which was just this really mean lady that worked at the Taco Bell when I lived out in California. But no, just kidding. But this I'm looking really forward to. I just didn't get a chance to, and I'll get to why a little bit later. It's our last on the first chop. But if you've been following social media, you'll probably know what we're talking about. But the next thing we'll go into is my Amityville project continues, and this one was the hardest one I had to find because this is I don't even think it's out. As far as I know, I don't think it's available on disc anywhere. Definitely not available on streaming. I found it on it is on streaming technically. I found it on YouTube though. It wasn't on any of the major streaming platforms for rental. It was on YouTube, and that was the Amityville Asylum. And I feel like I'm a broken record when I say these ones with these Amityville ones, but this is really in the theme of just like slapping the name Amityville on something. Because from what I got, I guess that supposedly and I could be trying to mentally block this movie out, but I think it might have been they tried to imply that the asylum was built on top of the old Amityville grounds or something. I don't know, which makes no sense because if you know where the house is in Long Island, that's not the case. I could be wrong on that part. They built it, basically built on something on top of something. But anyway, it was literally the first. Okay, this movie is like for its short running time of just about an hour and a half. This movie finds a way to waste almost all of that time. I mean, like the first 5 minutes are literally the slowest moving opening credits you've ever seen. Then the next I'd say like 8 minutes are this awkward job interview of the main character trying to get a job at the asylum. I don't know what for. The way this interview was going, you think she was getting a high position, but it turned out it was just in the custodial position. And it's like really awkward where she like sneezes on the guy that's interviewing her, and like, I'm like, okay, in COVID times, that's not so funny.
And why did they even make it, like, was there a point to it being awkward? Is that supposed to be her character? Or?
Not really. But then like the next few minutes are her lamenting to her best friend that she didn't get this job and how she doesn't know what she's going to do. But then she gets a call immediately that the guy that interviewed her, which is named Dr. Mixter of all things, which of course, if you remember Halloween 2, that was the name of the doctor. Remember Dr. Mixter? Dr. Mixter! The nurse kept. So Dr. Mixter was the head guy of this asylum. So then literally, she shows up for the job and she spends the next like 15 minutes getting custodial lessons from the resident custodian.
Which means the audience gets custodial lessons.
Yeah, literally. Oh my God. It was like, she was like, this one, and he was like rushing. He was like the fidget spinner guy. So he was like, this one is, you want to put this one, you want to mix it with water. This, if you're not, you're going to get much fumes. And I'm like, now I could get that job. That's how in detail they went into this thing. And then they eventually, I think, as the movie's winding down, you get into the plot eventually, and that is, I guess, basically there were some resident ghosts in this asylum. This was just it was so awkward. It was like a movie I feel like didn't mean to be made. Like it was just so bizarre. And here's the thing I think that was so awkward. And this, I assume this was intentional, but for the first hour, there was no like background music. So there were so many scenes of just silence, and when they weren't talking, so it seemed really disturbing. But then all of a sudden, I guess they got the budget. Maybe someone said, here's a few bucks, add some music, because then background music came in later on. And it was just, there were these weird antagonists going on that worked there too. And nobody believed that she was seeing the ghost, but it all turned out, I don't care if I spoil this for anybody, but it turns out that it was all that Dr. Mixter was behind it all, and he was trying this sinister plot. And
oh my gosh, this is like a Scooby-Doo episode.
It really is. But this one, I almost like, I mean, you should almost watch it just to see what I went through, Tim. It just to commiserate with me and watch this movie. It's free on YouTube. So,
oh my gosh.
But I'll tell you, these
and worth every penny, apparently.
It is, but I will say though, with the best thing about this Amityville project is I am getting to see like some of the weirdest uses of an IP ever. I mean, literally. And it's funny. This is when I have still like 8 to 10 movies to go before we get the Amityville vibrator. I mean, so I mean, it's like,
oh my god,
look what I like still have coming to me.
Oh
I mean, it's just amazing. And at least though that weird one, I didn't think I was gonna get that Amityville Witches like TV show, I think, is actually on Tubi. So if I catch up in time, hopefully that'll still be on Tubi when I get up to it. But yeah, I'm getting into some of the ones I think I may have seen though. I forget what's next. I gotta look. Yeah, this has been an interesting project for sure. But one I felt I had to do, just had to.
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. So I had not talked about horror comics in a while, and I kind of dived back into that for a little bit. So I thought I'd just mention a couple things here. So I'm a member of DC Universe, and DC Universe is kind of going away. They're launched, what was it, last year? Maybe they launched, and it was basically a central hub for DC Comics, all their DC shows and their DC movies. Well, when HBO Max came out, they took over a lot of the movies and series. So DC Universe is going, I can't remember if they're going to rename it, but they're going to stop offering streaming movies and TV shows, and they're going to a strictly digital comics platform like Marvel is doing, or Marvel Unlimited. So I signed back up because I only used them for the comics stuff anyway, and when they do that in January, where they go to comics only format, they're going to be adding a lot more comics. So you're still going to, if you're a comic fan like me, you still get your money's worth. And I've always been a big DC fan. But I was kind of going through their site the other night, and I noticed they had an entire featured section on DC horror comics, which I did not know DC did a lot of horror comics. And technically they really didn't. Most of their titles were from back in the late 60s and 70s. But they do offer several series. They've got House of Mystery, House of Secrets, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Oh, yeah.
The Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love, which I'm curious to get into. The Witching Hour, Black Magic, and Doorway to Nightmare. That's their horror series they have. So their classic horror series. So I've been kind of going through those, and that's been a lot of fun. Because those are ones you don't really... I kind of like the off-the-wall horror. Obviously, I like Tales from the Crypt and those classic EC comics. But sometimes it's fun to like go through these. Like I think Black Magic and Doorway to Nightmare were like 5 or 6 issues runs a piece, and it's really neat to kind of go through those sometimes and see those really limited series. So if you have a DC Universe subscription, definitely check those out. And the other horror comic news I had is you remember that Joe Hill put out a line of comics under his Hill House banner.
Oh yeah,
they're not all written by Joe Hill, but it's his comic company. And those have finally been collected in hardcover graphic novel format. Those have just come out. You have The Dollhouse, Daphne Byrne, Plunge, Basket Full of Heads, and The Low, Low Woods. I have not had a chance to read these yet. I was going to collect the series, and I don't know, I kind of got with the whole COVID thing and the comic book shop closing. I just never, I kind of put a hiatus on buying comics. This year.
So those ones that I went to with you, they're closed during this?
They're open in limited capacity now. They didn't go out of business or anything.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
those are great
still
shops. Those are great shops you have in town.
Yeah. No, they're still open, but it was just harder. You can't just pop in, and they had curbside service and all. You had to know what you were looking for and that kind of thing. It's getting a little better now. I think they have. But their shops are so small, it's really hard for them to have a lot of people in there. So they've been real strict about limiting attendance and stuff. But so those are... I was really looking forward to those. But since I did not get a chance to collect the individual issues, this is a great chance. I'll put all of these on my Amazon wish list. They are hardcover now. I'm sure the soft covers will come in fairly soon. I would kind of like to have the hardcovers of these, actually.
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty neat, but I don't know much about the series themselves. I've read a little bit, but I didn't want to spoil it. So be on the lookout for those at your bookstore or on Amazon. I think they run about $20 a pop on Amazon. So
I mean, it's not bad. And these are the hardcovers for 20. Yeah, I mean those are good. I mean, but you buy a hardcover book, it's about that, and you're getting a really good series here. So
yeah, I think those would be nice collectibles to have on the shelf. Joe Hill. So yeah,
nice. So yeah, the next thing is my my Halloween Nano figures came in. I've not yet opened the box to really look at it, but it's cool because it's got. I'll send a picture on social media, but it's got that special giant, bigger version of the glow in the dark Michael Myers is like highlighted, like in a little like clear window. So he's up there. And also, I think that there's one of the other ones. I think it's either the Laurie. I think it's the Laurie Strode one. Is like there's her little orange figure is up in another window in the box. So it's a nice little set. I mean, I was so tempted to not open it, but I'm like, I kind of want these little displayed out in in a good fashion in my little Halloween shelf where I have the other bigger NECA figures. So I kind of want to make a little Halloween thing, and they're so cool. It's like I'm not selling these. So it's like, why bother? And in all honesty, I mean, yes, it has a plastic wrap around it, so it's not like I could fool someone and say it's never been opened. But, I've gotten to the point of where I like to I really am more about displaying my figures. I mean, like the Joe Bobs I'm not going to open because those, those just look cool in the package, so I'm going to keep those in there. But like but these Nano figures and like my Halloween, those NECA figures, those are meant to be out of the box.
Oh, we should talk about the Puppet Master ones that are coming out.
Oh yeah,
those
that's right.
Look awesome.
Yeah, and you would like almost willed them into existence because we were talking about that.
I know.
And remember, you were talking about how you couldn't find, you wanted that one, and then you wanted what's his name? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Blade, and there you go. And now
those are coming out next spring, I think, late March, but. I'm definitely getting those. Like, I've cut back on buying a lot of action figures and stuff just because we're in the middle of a move and I can't really, I can't be buying stuff and then packing it up to move and all that kind of thing. I'm just waiting till I get into the new house. But those are day one purchase. I've got to have those. I think it'll be about $30, but it's a 2-pack. So you get Blade and Torch is one of the packs, and what was the other one?
My God, I lose track of the
can't
names
remember.
of them.
Yeah, Blade
But,
and Torch, and then the other one was, I can't remember what the other one was. Pinhead and oh yes, the drill guy, Tunneler.
Not Drill Bit Taylor.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get both of those, and they look really good. Like they're really
do.
good replicas. Of course, what you would expect from NECA, but
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
NECA
but
is
yeah.
it could be possibly one of the best things to come to horror and pop culture collectors.
Oh,
Those
man,
Back
yeah.
to the Future ones are ridiculous looking. It's
Yes.
like they shrunk the actual human actors down into plastic to get some of those. And the Doc Brown, I mean, not that Christopher Lloyd is a hard face to reproduce because he's just got such an iconic look to his face.
Yeah.
But like that one, I mean, they nailed that one. That like that Doc Brown like shock face on the one
Yeah.
the head you can. Oh my God! I mean, you can't like. Oh my God! And Back to the Future is like it always seems to like just have a resurgence every couple of years with something, like remember the year it was the video games. This year it's the figures and the board games, 2 board games basically.
Yeah. Well, did you see the Lil Nas X holiday video teaser trailer?
Yes,
Had Marty
that was
McFly?
great.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, I mean, the Back to the Future just never going away, and that's why I'm like, it's crushing that amazing ride at Universal is no longer there. It's terrible. I mean, I could recreate it by watching it because it came in every Back to the Future set in the past like 6 years includes the full ride and all pre-show videos in it as a special feature. But still, it's pretty
Do
cool.
you think do you think they'll ever remake it? I know the creators have said they would never down for it, but do you think like at some point, maybe 10, 20 years down the road, they'll have to remake that? I would think.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, if I were to make now, just like off the top of my head, I mean, to just remake it completely, I don't think would work because the originals 3 are just way too incredible and beloved to try and recreate it without a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
Now, also, obviously, you can't do a direct sequel at this point because just the actors are much older. I mean, of course, with special effects, you can do things.
I mean, you have to do something like Marty's Kids or something.
Marty's Kids,
Doc's Kids or something.
Yeah, or I was thinking now. I mean, not to steal, but like possibly they may be able to do the Ghostbusters route, like the Ghostbusters Afterlife, where maybe it's not so much Marty's kids, maybe Marty's grandkids or someone there, but they somehow through some kind of way they find the DeLorean time machine somehow, and they end up triggering it, and somehow maybe they could even make it so it's somehow they go back and intertwine with the original series somehow. Like it could be something like really cool. Like I think they'd have to be super creative to reboot that franchise. It would take like a mix of all the things you would do a reboot, remake, sequel kind of thing, like all of it into one. They couldn't just do one or the other. It's too much of it. It's a series that is way too important to too many people that if they botch that, it will be just.
And that's why Bob Gale said he would never support a reboot. I mean, he's like adamantly against it. So like he would have to be dead and gone before I think he would even be entertained.
I mean, and they already did like a sequel basically through the video game format.
True, yeah.
So there's that,
And there's
remember though,
comic
that's
books
what
and stuff.
Ghostbusters did. Ghostbusters 3 really was the video game, but now you're actually getting a real Ghostbusters 3 technically, which actually not that far off now, right? It was in March they moved it to.
Yeah.
But then again with COVID, no, they moved it to July. I think it's another right.
July, yes, you're right.
They did move it again. Yeah. So let's hope. I mean, with all going well, I mean, between the vaccine and everything you hear now, it sounds like July there will be some semblance of where you'll be able to feel comfortable going out. I mean, it's not going to ever go away, I don't think, for years and years. But, obviously, if it becomes something where most people are vaccinated from it and it's got such a high 95% thing for 2 different vaccines already, just that at this point, and there's others in the I mean, we should be in decent shape.
I'll tell you what, movies are the thing I've missed the most, I think. New movies coming out.
Yeah, well,
not that there hasn't been indie stuff, and there's been a lot of horror that's come out, but just blockbuster movies. I'm a big movie fan in addition to horror.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's,
and
a
then,
bummer.
and no, me too. I mean, to me, I think it's movies. It's actually the whole night out. It's
Yeah, night out.
dinner,
Yeah.
the movie, stuff like that. Like the way like that, those classic date nights.
Yeah,
That's what I miss.
exactly.
And it's funny. There's basically we just found out as of a couple hours before we're recording. Thanks, I got the word from. I mean, it's posted all over now, but I got the word, of course, from our good buddy Steve Cohn, who always has the breaking news. He's like, I bet you people that don't know what he looks like just picture him standing there in like a Coosbane coat and like a hat like Kermit the Frog, like, hey, oh, it's a breaking news. But that was the worst Kermit I ever did. I'm tired. But yeah, like, and of course that Wonder Woman, a movie Wonder Woman, 1984, which is is just a one of the most anticipated sequels.
Yes.
And is going to do something that is just absolutely incredible. It's going to be released in theaters and a week later, basically at home for free if you have HBO Max. And that is astounding to me that on Christmas Day, you could basically, with your family, gather around and watch Wonder Woman, like a blockbuster movie in your home at no additional charge.
It's crazy. It's going to change a lot of things. I mean, and it's going to be changed forevermore. Like, even though we may go back to the theaters, there's going to be a new revenue model that comes out of this.
Right. They will. I mean, I think there will be, like, and we said this way back in the beginning of this. Remember, we brainstormed on how they could get this going, and I just think people will go back to theaters. The theaters are not dead because at this point, I think it was like lasted long enough that, like, I think literally if the pandemic might have ended in a weird spot, I know this sounds weird to say, but like if it ended almost like around like the end of the summer and people, but without a vaccine, but it was still like, it's because people started going out and venturing, which I mean they did technically, which is why it's still here. But you know what I'm getting at? Like, It's now at the point where when this is over and when everyone seems to, that wants a vaccine should be vaccinated come July, right in blockbuster movie season. I think people will go flooding back to the theater.
I do too. Yeah,
so I don't. While I think for a while they'll still offer home releases. It's something you always kind of like wished back in the day. Remember when you're like, I kind of wish I could just pay $30 and watch this at home.
Yeah, it's like, exactly. Now we got it. We're like, oh, I want to go back to the movies. Now we got it,
and we're like, I want to get back to the theater. But yeah. So I think it'll be, next summer blockbuster season will be good, and hopefully, if all goes well, God willing, nothing backfires or takes a step backwards. Next October, of course, we'll be flooding to the theaters to see Halloween Kills.
Yes.
And then
flooding to Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah. Hopefully. Oh, yeah. There's a lot to look forward to. I mean, this year has dragged on at parts and sped up at parts, and it's by far the weirdest year that most of us will ever live through. And I mean, just it's like if you could capture something in a time capsule. Holy cow, would this year be the year? I mean, just imagine the things that have happened. I mean, companies have
it's going to be great
exploded.
For historians to look back on this year. It's going to be it's going to be really a turning point. But we did have a next on the rundown a fantastic man. This one exceeded my expectations, Brian. I'm talking about the new. I'm not going to call it a reboot.
Nope.
I'm not going to call it a remake. The Castle Freak reimagining, or whatever you want to call it, trailer has debuted.
Oh, wow, does this look good? I mean, and now, granted, we are big fans of the originals. We, of course, we know Barbara Crampton's producing it, and she's great. We know our good buddy Emily Sweet is starring in it, and, we just adore her. So we know, yes, you could say that, oh, well, you guys are just going to say. But no, take all that aside. This trailer was amazing. If we didn't know anything about it, I would have been like, if I would have seen this trailer just on its own merits, I would have been like, I got to see this movie. It is so well crafted, this trailer. It is worth the wait for this trailer. And the best part about this is that it will be out on Shudder December 3rd, We're talking weeks away. We could see this. So how often do you get to see in a trailer that you just want to like, can't wait to see the movie, and like 3 weeks you're going to be watching it in the comfort of your own home? I mean, it'll also be, I think they said you can buy it also, I think a day later. But I mean, of course, we're going to watch it on Shudder. I mean, I will own this movie. This will be in the monolith as soon as there's a means for it. But you can buy it on digital if you don't have Shudder and you want to do it. I think it's like already it's $9.99 to order on iTunes. You can pre-order
and it looks very respectful of the original. Like everything about it looked like they were really, which I mean I knew that was going to be the case because of Barbara Crampton producing, but it does look very respectful of the original.
Yeah, and it looks like that you could see definitely some nods of like what they were trying, like some of the moments of the original that they definitely wanted to kind of portray. I mean, some of the basic things are there, but you definitely see also that they are trying, like you see there's a whole new series of plot additions to it that I think is going to make it strong and stand out from the original, while also respecting and honoring the original. And I think this is that we could be in some rare territory where a remake, which really not that long ago from the original, comes out and might just be so universally accepted without tarnishing anything of the original. And I mean, this is one that has been on our radar since the announcement, and I can't wait. And we may have to sneak in a bonus episode to cover this, because I know it's really not in our Christmas repertoire thing, but we might be able to fit in a little bonus
we could
thing on this. I mean, we have to. We owe it to Castle Freak. I cannot wait. I am like ecstatic. I mean, Shudder basically in December, if you look at the lineup, is one of the best months they've ever had. A lineup between that, and we've got a couple of screeners that we have to get through. Stuff coming out in December. There's a new Joe Bob special. I mean, Shudder. I mean, how many times have we mentioned Shudder on this podcast?
they're killing it right now.
But
if you signed up, December is the month to sign up, though.
If you haven't yet, with all that we've been pushing and all the great stuff that has been on from summer on, you gotta get Shudder now. I mean, for this December is worth it alone. But so I guess finally in our first shot, before we get into our movie, there is a new addition to the Civil Gore family, and that is. Julie and I, we were on a waiting list, and we finally got our little puppy named Obi, which I posted some pictures on. And I'm not. I know I'm biased, but he is absolutely adorable.
He is.
And he is such a mush and such a lovable little guy. His official name, by the way, in case you wanted to know, is Obi-Wag Kenobi. So of course I got to get a Star Wars in. I got to get a pun in. But so he is just absolutely adorable, and we love him so much. We've only had him for a couple days now. He has made us tired, very tired, because he's a puppy. He's almost like a baby, where you have to get up at all hours of the night and take him out, try and get him to train. But he's pretty good, actually. He's kind of got this. He's got his shtick down. He's definitely. I mean, Julie hates when I say this, but he is definitely loves his mommy a little bit more than his daddy right now, I think. He can't. I mean, don't get me wrong. He loves me, and he'll curl up with me and play with me and all this. But like, if Julie leaves the room, oh my God, he gets up on his two legs up to the edge of the couch and watches her every move. It is the cutest thing. I have to post a picture of that too, because it's pretty funny. But yeah, no, he definitely he loves his mommy, but he's so cute and so great. So we're very happy. So we'll give you we'll definitely update you on all the Civil Gore pets there. In fact, we're going to do a spin-off podcast, right? Civil Paw, I think we decided, right? With Maui, Emma, and Obi, we'll host.
And I've got a bird and 3 guinea pigs that we can throw in the mix too.
That's right. Yeah.
I got a whole zoo.
Basically we just we'll just do a whole animal horror podcast. I mean, it's definitely one of those niche genres that haven't been touched. So I guess it's after we might as well jump right into this
Do we have
feature?
to? Do we have to?
Do we have to? Yeah, and now I want to preface this with saying one thing. I apologize because I know the filmmakers, we hate to bash movies. We don't like to bash, but we also don't want to just. I know a lot of people think we like everything, because we rarely seem to. But it's like we've said, because we handcraft what we pick.
That's right.
We know what we're looking to get. I mean, of course, we've had some duds and some shocking ones like Haunt, which I still think Tim and I are the only two people on the planet that don't like it. But still, so there's a lot of high percentage hits for us there. Last week was one of those toss-ups. We didn't know what to expect, and we were rewarded. This one, not so much. So I guess we'll let Tim give the facts here about Ghost Note.
Yeah, okay. Ghost Note was from 2017, directed by Troy Hart, starring Alicia Underwood as Mallory, Justin Duncan as Rodney, Kenny Gardner as Eugene Burns, Alan Carroll as Betty Summers / Grandma, Earl Browning.
I don't know why they gave that credit like that.
Oh, yeah. Earl Browning 3 as Milton, Todd Jenkins as Xander, and Kim Foster as Lilith. And I will give points to this movie for having all pronounceable actor names.
I know. That's
basic.
the one thing it has going for it. Yeah.
All right. An immortal blues musician terrorizes childhood sweethearts reunited over the Thanksgiving holiday.
And there's your draw in, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that Thanksgiving holiday one that
Now, to be fair to Troy Hart, this was his first feature film.
Yes.
And it's not, I'll be honest, it wasn't as terrible as I had expected going in terms of Brian had me really scared. Like I was really prepared for something really bad. It's not that bad. But it's
no, I've seen worse. Let's put
I've
it
seen
this
worse.
way.
Yes,
It's watchable.
It's watchable.
It's not like it's unwatchable.
No. It was definitely watchable. So we're being we may be a little exaggerating the how much we disliked it. I didn't dislike it to that point, but it's not one that really for horror fans. I think it definitely lacks some scares. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And here's the thing I want to say. If you look at it, this is like, it's so funny. It's almost a polar opposite of last week, where last week on paper, we're like, oh my God, what is this movie going to be like? And it delivered in every way.
Yeah.
This one was the opposite, where the plot of it sounds really cool. And and it started off, I'm like, I think I can dig this. This is kind of cool. There's almost like I mean, the plot you've seen before. It's taken, and this time it's a blues musician, but you've seen it before where someone who's like this vile person has. I mean, listen, it's in a way it's like a Nightmare on Elm Street, where you have this vile character. People take matters into their own hands and eliminate him, only to be resurfaced years later in terms of descendants of the original. And so, I mean, but still, it's kind of a neat plot point where the immortal blues musician kind of thing, but then I think what they do is they try and overcomplicate it is the problem, where they but don't explain it enough. And it just, it goes away. Like there's just some weird things in it that I don't understand. And like for a perfect example, like there's these weird cuts to black screens where it's like nothing on there, and like for an extended like 2-3 seconds, like they just didn't. It was like when you do those iTunes movies, and like you make the transition like 3 seconds, 2 second, one like that, and it blends. This was like 1 second too long, and it was just a beat long that it made me notice it. And me back in back wanting to be an editor at some point, I'm very critical about cuts in movies. I'm like, I still have not been able to shake noticing a bad edit into a movie. This one was filled with them. And then just some of the weird things, like why, like, so they all visit, this whole thing takes place over Thanksgiving where the whole family gets together to visit the mother. They're all in driving distance, but they only see her on Thanksgiving. Now, granted, I know my mom will tell you, she'll be the first to tell you I don't visit her enough. But this is ridiculous. They literally show up. The whole family gets into a fight, almost the entire dinner. Then they all leave and say, "See you next year, Mom." But they get in their car and they're home in like an hour. What the heck?
Oh, and also they don't even stay that long.
They don't. It's like they have some kind of, I guess they do have a football game or something, right? Or something.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, I guess if if every time you go to your mom's house and get together, you just end up fighting, I would probably not visit very much either.
But go separate then. Go
but
separate.
the mom
They
was
didn't have to
not
have to
like the mom was perfect. Like they all got along with the mom.
Yeah,
Like,
they didn't
nobody
get
had a
along with
problem
each
with them.
other.
Yeah.
No,
so why don't you
but
just visit
so go separate. Go separate. Is it that hard? Say,
Oh.
all right, you take this week, I'll take next week. We'll go visit mom. This poor woman's in this house all by herself.
Well, speaking of her, she looked exactly like my next door neighbor across the street in our old house. Like exactly, except for the hairstyle. But if you took my neighbor across the street and put a wig on her, she would look exactly like this woman, and it was distracting me the entire movie.
Well, at least you had a distraction. Like, maybe that's why it wasn't so bad for you.
Well, you know, I like the legend of you've heard of the legend of Robert Johnson, the actual blues player, and the whole legend that he sold his soul to the devil, and that's why he played the blues.
Well, that's what this was, right? That's basically what this.
That's essentially what this is, based on, and I used to have like a really nice. Actually, I still do have a really nice box set of all of Robert Johnson's recordings. I used to be big into blues back in the day, not so much anymore. So this one actually was like really intriguing, and I tell you, when it first started, I was getting some heavy like Candyman vibes. Because
I was gonna say this is a very Candyman-esque.
Because if you remember, Candyman Farewell to the Flesh took place in New Orleans, so you had that jazz blues type feel to it, and so that's what I thought maybe this movie was going for, is kind of like, I don't want to say a ripoff because I think the premise is neat, but sort of like a Candyman vibe to it. But my biggest problem with the movie is there's not much to that until the very end. Like, I mean, till the last few minutes is where you really get that feeling. I just felt like there was the bulk of the movie. I wish had been more relevance of this thing haunting them. I just felt like the moments were just so few and far between.
Yeah, like, I mean, and it was like, it kept like, okay, I'm gonna go up. Oh, I see a thing, and then they keep cutting to the family that was possessed. Why that one girl was the only one that got possessed makes no sense. No explanation. And it was just, although the one, I will say, the two characters I thought that nailed it, and it was funny, that guy Todd Jenkins, he played Xander. He was the record store guy. Mm-hmm. And the one that Kim Foster played Lilith, I thought they were really good and they were strong in this. And Todd Jenkins was the one that did Cherokee Creek. That was that funny horror comedy with the Bigfoot bachelor party I saw.
Oh yeah.
Remember where they sent us there? Which I had a kind of a really more fun than you would think in a bachelor party Bigfoot movie. But but yeah, no. So he was in that. That was he directed that one. But he starred in this one. I thought he was great, actually. He was good. I wanted to see more of him, and he was, he came in, I think, kind of like almost like in the end of the second act going into the third act. And I thought Lilith was pretty funny. She played that, I mean, kind of that stereotyped like I don't care kind of vibe girl, but then like kind of, but she was still good. But then but I tell you that other guy, and he was in the Bigfoot movie too, the guy that the next door neighbor boyfriend guy who was, I feel bad, but this guy did not deliver one line unawkwardly. I mean,
maybe he's just is awkward. I mean, he was kind of supposed to be a little awkward in the movie.
He was, but like, and then that song he sings that he makes up, and then they actually recorded it to a full-fledged end credits song version of that. Like, I'm like, oh, it was it was just the thing is, it's like in movies like this. I think why like I almost seem angry towards it is because when you have such a good premise and then you just miss it by in such weird ways, like I just don't understand why they couldn't like that. I don't know if it was maybe a budget issue, maybe it was who knows what the real reason is. Sometimes you just never know these things, but what you're right. Why wasn't you see more of the music, the evil jazz musician?
Well, that your whole plot hinges on this evil jazz musician. Why is he not in the movie except for the very beginning and then the very end? It's like,
right,
you missed an entire 90 minutes that you could have had this thing like terrorizing these people. It even says it in the summary that he terrorizes these childhood sweethearts, but there's very little terrorizing in here. A lot of
they're almost terrorizing themselves.
It's more of it's like the bulk of the movie is mostly like her kind of unraveling dark family secrets, which is fine, but that should
don't tease us.
That shouldn't be the centerpiece. When to me, like the horror should be the centerpiece. And I mean they kind of like it kind of didn't know what they wanted to really push, and the whole possession angle where like random people were getting possessed depending on if they encountered either the record and or guitar, and it seemed like they had such a great story with the legend to it. But yet they seem to double down on the spot parts that didn't matter and leave the parts that you really wanted until like Tim said, to the very last ending of the movie. And I'm not sure why the grandfather, I guess, came back at the end. He just reappeared, but it was really weird. Yeah, there's definitely some plot holes. Probably I'd have to watch it again to make sure. But now I did like the idea. Like I thought there were some really cool ideas in here. Like the Ghost Note comes from the name of an album.
Right,
like a lost album that was supposedly there were no copies left remaining of this from this musician, and she ends up finding a copy of this record. I mean, that's kind of cool. I like the idea of lost albums and lost movies and things like that. I think that's cool.
It's like a horror version of Eddie and the Cruisers.
Yeah, but it's like all those little cool ideas never add up in this film. They never take advantage of them. It seems like they're wasted opportunities. So. Like I almost would have liked to see like a more extended intro on what happened to this musician, and then if you're not gonna do if you're not gonna go full bore into like the horror, haunting, and possession and stuff, if you're gonna save that to the end, at least make like the interim part where she's discovering her secrets and stuff more interesting. Like I don't know, I just feel like I thought there was a more lore that they could have pulled in to make it more captivating. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, and then like there's a tease of a sequel that we know won't be ever happening probably. But the whole like the way she it was like scenes like they literally only had time for one take of every scene. Like when she throws the record and it comes awkwardly out of her hand to the ground, and I'm just like, why would you do that? It's like I will say the one missed thing they had is they should have. Had someone that was like Albert Collins come in and say, "Nobody leaves this place without singing the blues," like from Adventures in Babysitting. Yeah, which is oh my god, that another thing that's one of my favorite guilty pleasures. That movie, I could watch that movie time and time again. That I quote that movie. So pretty much any Keith Coogan movie is super quotable. Whether it's from him or someone else in there, but yeah, that was one. But that's what I think this movie was missing.
Elizabeth Shue era. Like,
like
I was completely in love with her during that movie. That was 1987. I was 13 years old. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and she was, of course, everyone like our generation, we're introduced to her from the Karate Kid, of course, and then she became big in like that movie, and then like generations a little bit later, you got the like the Cocktail Elizabeth Shue and that level Elizabeth Shue.
You had the Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 Elizabeth Shue.
Which was like barely like it was such a weird role for her because she was known enough, but they hardly promoted her in it. It was funny when I remember the trailer for Back to the Future 2. My friend Mark is like, "Did you see Elizabeth Shue's in that?" I'm like, "No, she's not." I'm like, "Why would you? We would have heard more about that." But I guess
she was a recast, though. She didn't. She was,
but she was big enough that they should have promoted her for that movie, and they never did. It was weird.
I think I just think they didn't want to let on that they had to recast.
Maybe
Jennifer. So,
I mean, she had. Yeah, I mean, in that Jennifer played a much role, and what's even sadder is Claudia Wells. The reason why she was recast was very sad. Really, I guess she was taking care of her mom, or I believe who was really sick, so she would have been back. But it was she had to back out for personal reasons. It wasn't that they thought she did a bad job or anything, and she just didn't get the role.
This is an astonishingly heavy Back to the Future themed episode. I don't know.
I know. I forgot. How did we just jumped in there? It's all the it was that magic link from Albert Collins to Keith Coogan to Elizabeth Shue, and there we are again. We're back to the future. But
Great Scott. Yeah. So
you're gonna come back with me, Tim. Okay.
Yeah, so,
yeah,
I don't know how much to talk about this one. It's just it's on Prime. I think it's on Prime. Is that right? Is that where I saw it? Yes, Prime.
Yeah,
if you really want to check this one out, but yeah, a little missed opportunity there. So for all you people that say we never give a movie a bad review, here's another one to chalk up to the list. We would for this one.
But I will say, like I said, it's like you may get some. It's not like you're gonna get no enjoyment out of it. There's some no.
It's not unwatchable
in there
by any means. By any means, no. It's not even the most. I wouldn't even characterize it as boring. I was never bored during it.
No, boring was not it. It was definitely not boring.
Yeah. It wasn't. It wasn't pace really, as much as we say that there wasn't a lot of real good horror in here. It really wasn't pace. I felt that it was paced well. It's kind of weird. It was one of those
it just missed.
Yeah,
it just missed.
I think it's one of those that it just misses the premise enough at enough times, and it just misses the performances enough. It just misses this enough that it just adds up. So that even though the movie itself, you can't point to one thing and say, "Oh, this was horrible." There's enough of these misses that add up that at the end of it, you're like, "Yeah."
But I mean, you know what? We'll give a props though to his first time director. Had a, I mean, I wouldn't as for him, I'd watch another one of his movies because
absolutely,
it's not I'm not gonna like you said, we don't know what caused the misses.
And I thought the lead actress did a fine job. She was convincing as a.
She's been in a lot of stuff actually. I looked at her IMDb. She's been in enough stuff. I mean, she was like, at point it's like weird. She balanced back and forth between like angsty teen and like then all of a sudden she's nice again, and then, it was like a weird character I think she had to play. So it was kind of.
But you know what? I was refreshed that she wasn't angsty teen the entire time because I'm so tired of that. Like I can't.
Yeah, she did get unangsty.
Yeah, I can't stand these horror movies where it's always this one teenage girl that hates everything and hates her parents and hates this, and she spends the whole movie sulking. And I'm like, ugh, I'm gonna have to deal with that enough in real life. I don't want to have to deal with that in a movie. So it was kind of nice that for a lot of the time she was pretty, normal, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I do think, though, they should have hired you as jogging expert because she not only did she not jog in the proper attire, but she jogged awkwardly. But
she's an
awkward.
But
that's just.
I don't know if I can improve on awkward jogging.
I don't know.
That's my specialty.
Don't sell yourself short, Tim. I think you might have been able to do the job for that one.
Oh, well. Okay, so what can we say? It was a Thanksgiving movie. It checks off that list. Check. Okay, moving right along.
Yes.
They can't all be Thanksgiving, right?
No, they can't be Thanksgiving. But so I did I did find a good beer pairing though, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
And this is a brewery that I've been to. It's funny. So it's kind of a mixing. I love the brewery for its beers. This was one of the first craft breweries that really grabbed my attention when I started really getting into beyond the scope. Mm-hmm. Yeah, beyond the scope of your average beer place. And that was, yes, as Tim said, Magic Hat. I still, to this day, love Number 9. That's one of their signature ones.
Yep.
And so I've always been a big fan of them. I like I'm forgetting the other one they do that I like. But anyway, and so I remember I wanted to make it when we did our first trip to Vermont years ago. I'm like, we got to go to Magic Hat. But the problem is Magic Hat, I think, because of all the reasons why I think so many people like it, and it was probably a lot of people's one of their earlier forays into the craft brewing world. The place was like a Disneyland version of a brewery. Now you sound like, obviously we're big theme park fans. I love Disneyland, but my breweries, I kind of like them a little bit more focused on the brewery itself. Right, and this thing was like, you walked in there and there was like loud music and colors of every thing all over the place, and 5 million different souvenir items. Like it took us like 20 minutes to make our way through the menagerie of things to get to the bar, and they had this weird like ticket system where you bought a thing and you had these little like tokens to get beers, but it was so popular, and people were just like,
Yeah.
there was no rhyme or reason how you were trying the beers, and it was so chaotic. And their big thing was a big tour they have, and the tour lined up looks almost like a queue line for a dark ride at a theme park, which again you'd say I'd love, but like, yeah, if I'm at a theme park, not at a brewery, I want to focus on the brewery. I like to, when we go to breweries, I like to go where it's like, where the brewers will say, oh yeah, and they start giving you info about the beer. This is like, literally was almost like a show. Like, they're like, what did you have? Oh, you want this one? Boom, here, plopped it on you, a little cup, and walked away. Because it was so commercial.
I like my breweries chill. Like, I like to go in there and
Yeah.
just like try it and just sit around. I mean, I like a chill vibe. I don't like.
Yeah,
I don't want it to be
I don't
like
want
a
a bar.
tourist trap.
I want
Yeah.
a brewery. There's
Yeah.
a difference. Some of them have blended together. I like breweries that have a cool aesthetic. I like a brewery where the brewer or the people that work there are going to talk to you and chill out. Like my local one, Small Craft, is exactly like that. Totally small. It's got some great beers they make. They keep improving every time we go there. Obviously we haven't been in there in a while, even though they're open now. But they have outdoor stuff and they have limited indoor seating. But we took out from there a lot. We got some some crowlers from them. The guys there are amazing. The staff there is just so nice, and they're exactly what I like. They'll go in and they'll chat with you about the beers. They'll tell you little things about it. That's what I want at a brewery. But anyway, so this one is named Guitar Face from Magic Hat in Burlington, Vermont, and of course the link to it, of course, is the musician in Ghost Notes' guitar was haunted, and along with his album that could kind of possess people. And this is it's pretty light, 5%. And I wrote probably still higher than the Rotten Tomato score. Sorry, I know one last dig. I couldn't do it. Actually, there was no Rotten Tomato score for this yet. But yeah, I had to make a little joke in there. But anyway, the description is a crisp and hoppy lager with mild spice notes that give way to light floral and citrus aromas. Unlike the movie. No, I'm only kidding.
Yes.
It didn't say anything more about the movie. Yeah. But I feel bad now. Now I almost want to watch it again just to feel bad that I kind of made fun of it. But
Magic Hat's good though. Magic Hat's got really wide distribution. Like, you can get Magic Hat in the grocery store down here all day long. So.
Yeah, and like I said, they're one of those breweries that like really got. It'll have its history in craft brewing because it really was one of the ones that a lot of people first knew. Almost to the point where it's not even a craft brewery anymore because it's so distributed. It's like, it's so funny how craft brewing has changed over the years because they were, it's like, now you get like I've literally been to a craft brewery, and it was, I guess it's like that level of microbrewery where it's like, it looked like it was no bigger than a little, like maybe like a tool shed. You go in there, and like they had like 3 beers on tap, and it was literally like named after the beer. It was like lager, brown ale, and IPA. That's all it was. I forgot, it was in Maine somewhere, and like literally the half the brewery was their like outhouse type style bathroom, but it had a full sink in it and everything. It just opened with like a string on a door that opened up. But I'm like, so it's like now those are the level of craft breweries like that I'll kind of seek out. It's like those underground card rooms you see in like Rounders, like Tony KGB's house. But but so Magic Hat now is at that level of where it's no longer a craft brewery. It's like that mainstream craft brewery.
Yeah, like I've got tiers of beer.
Yeah.
And like in my mind, like I'll try to explain this, but like your bottom tier, I have like domestic stuff like Bud Light and Coors and stuff that I don't really even touch. This is gonna sound real beer snobby, but bear with me.
Look who you're talking to.
I know, really. Bear with me. And then then you have like your second, I would say like your second tier, which is like one step removed from like the domestic stuff, which I would to me is like Yingling and Blue Moon and
like Sam Adams.
Like, it's not that I won't drink it. I'll drink it. I like Blue Moon.
Oh, Sam Adams, I will always
like
have a drink.
Yeah,
I do enjoy their summer ale and some of their fall.
I like all of the beers I just mentioned, even though they're kind of like only one rung above like pure domestic.
Plus, Sam Adams will always have a place in my heart because it was my first legal beer that I had. Was at a restaurant. I had a legal Sam Adams, and I even had for years I had the glass, Sam Adams glass.
And I still love their Oktoberfest. I love their Oktoberfest.
Yeah,
I get it every year.
No, they're still good. And remember, I had that Utopias that one time at the beer festival, which is legendary there. So
then the third rung in my mind is like where I would put like Magic Hat, and I would put maybe like New Belgium.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of like the third rung up. Like they're like real mainstream, real distributed, but they're still good. And then there's like a fourth tier.
Yeah, like what was the other? There was another one like oh my god, I was just thinking of it. There was another one of like a kind of along that New Belgium line that you see all the time. Dogfish Head.
Dogfish Head would be Dogfish Head would be definitely in the third tier. Then you have like the fourth tier, and these are like the ones that are widely distributed, but they're still like really good. Like I would say like Stone. Yeah. I would say Terrapin.
Elysian maybe is up there.
Elysian I could put up there. Wicked Weed I would put up there. I mean these are like,
I love Wicked Weed.
So these are like the top tier to me, like the top tier of the mass beers. Like that's your fourth level. And then when you get the fifth level is like what I would consider like my really good local stuff, like my Edward Teach.
New Anthem I love.
Yeah.
I told you, Julie still claims that if you ever want to like surprise her with the best thing ever is you send her a clapback.
Yeah, I gotta look for that, by the way. But yeah, so that would be like, and that one's tough because that one, a lot of it's local. To me is I reserve that fifth tier. And then sixth tier, the mythical sixth tier, is the stuff that I just don't typically get. That's like the really expensive stuff that I would have to hit a bottle shop for, and that I'm probably not ever. I mean, you buy that stuff more than I do, Brian, but I typically don't get out to the bottle shop very often. So this is stuff I can't get in the grocery store. This is like way up there. So that's my that's my
tier, and I'm right there with you.
My beer tier.
Julie and I. Yeah, I know, and Julie and I have some like ones that we believe it or not, like, you know, like her favorite overall is Captain's Daughter from oh my god, Grey Sail. Thank you. I was gonna already talk about the next one. But she said Clapback was actually had beaten that as her favorite beer. But then, overall, since she doesn't really get that obviously hasn't gotten it since we brought it back from our trip to you. I think still overall, I would say Captain's Daughter is still her favorite. She will not. She won't. Like that's like if she sees that, she will like stock up on it like whenever it comes around. But there's also one, like another one, a couple other ones like 10 Bends, and this one, this other one. What did we just have? I'm drawing the name of it because it literally we just tried it like a few weeks ago and it was amazing. So I'm forgetting the name. Julie has it written down on her list. So we discovered that just haphazardly and at this really great beer place called Halftime. Mm-hmm. In Mamaroneck, New York. They have everything. They get stuff all over. Like I've seen Wicked Weed there. They get everything from everywhere. It's pretty cool. So yeah, so there, you're right. I'm right there with Tim like that, and that should almost be its own episode. We need to like do our pyramid of beers because, but it is true. If you're really a beer fan, that's what there is a distinction now. It used to be like domestic, imported, and craft.
Yeah,
three.
Now,
but that's what some people will still look at it. But I don't see it that way. Just like Tim, we have our tiers.
Yes, so that actually
you probably have tiers now that we're extending this different kind of tiers.
It actually ties into our one of our fan topic questions. So I'm glad we got to cover that in a little more detail. So
yes,
we'll get to that in just a second. First up, our triple threat from last week. We were looking for an actress. The answer was somebody we actually met at New Jersey HorrorCon, Linnea Quigley. Clue number one, while I primarily go by my middle name, my real first name shares the same as another legendary scream queen. And Linnea Quigley's real name is Barbara Linnea Quigley, sharing the Barbara name with the legendary Barbara Crampton. Clue number two, my last name is the same as a fictional movie character, but unlike that character, I didn't go down under. We were looking for Tom Selleck vehicle, Quigley Down Under, where he played the title character Matthew Quigley. Oh, that's funny. And then clue number 3, I've been in more than 125 films and more on the way. And of course, Linnea has had a 35-year plus career with over 125 roles, which is pretty
And
amazing.
she has like literally like 20 movies currently in production.
She's amazing.
Which is
amazing.
astounding.
Yeah.
She just never quits. And she was like one of her more recent things I remember I got to see her in was the Barn, and she's reprising that role in the Barn sequel. That's
I still need to
in the
see
works.
that. I don't think I've watched that yet. Or am I
You've
getting
seen the Barn?
Oh, I'm getting it mixed up with The Shed.
The Shed. Yeah,
It was a
you haven't seen
different
The Shed.
outbuilding.
Yeah, different agricultural
Yes.
abode.
You're right.
But
you're
yeah,
right.
they
The Barn was awesome. The Barn was awesome.
Yeah, the Barn. Oh my God, the candy corn scarecrow.
Yes.
I swear, I still think that has got for what they consider a low budget film. By far, the Jack o' Lantern was Hallow Jack.
Yes.
Was got to be one of the coolest things where he literally had the actual flames lit up in his eyes.
Those were the coolest villains. I love that movie. I need to buy that one. Actually,
I told you buy it. Look on Scream Team releasing because you can get for like $27. You can get the Blu-ray with everyone's signature on it.
Nice.
Including Ari Lehman and Linnea Quigley.
Sweet.
And then a bunch of the cast. And it's a great disc. It's got a whole bunch of cool special features on it. But yeah, and then she's got a ton of stuff. She's actually, I think she's got a movie coming up with our buddy Jimmy Dempster too, who did a great job, by the way, on his show. He was on a podcast I watched on YouTube.
Yes.
The other day.
I love Jimmy, man. He is such a cool guy.
He's like,
awesome.
he is. You know what? He is a kindred spirit of ours. He like literally is a. Is that the right term? Kindred spirit, right? Is that the word?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? Like a.
And was our first big celebrity interview, I think.
It was. Oh yeah, no, it is. He is our kindred spirit. Is a person whose interests or attitudes are similar to one's own. And we had the best time. We had him twice on. We got to have him on again. Actually, we if anything, just to hang out. I mean, we talk to him all the time on through social media. Just a cool guy. He's so someone after our own heart. I mean, we like love to reminisce about those '80s video store days. And yeah, no, he's just a great.
You know
guy.
what I love about Jimmy? He's excited about every project he's in.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be.
He
loves
what he does. I love that. People that love what they do they excel in what they do, and they succeed in what they do. And I love people that have that enthusiasm for what they do. I just love that.
No matter what role he takes, he gives it 100%, and he's all in, and he's proud of everything, and that's the way it should be.
Yep, I love it. Okay, so our triple threat this week, we're looking for a movie. Now, I will be disappointed if some Civil Gore listeners don't get this one. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so clue number 1. This movie stars the father of a very well-known Scream Queen. Clue number 2. My South African premiere invitation was printed on an unusual object. And clue number 3. Sadly, before the release, my director was tragically killed. Again,
I think this is a good one.
This is a good one. And you Civil Gore fans should know this one.
Yes, and in fact, one of those trivias, one of those questions in there, we've definitely mentioned and given you the answer to on the show before. So.
Yep, exactly. That's why I said you should know this one, because we've actually given you the answer before. All right, so we had a fan topic foo. The original question was from John Eversole, and it was, what led up to your love of craft beer?
Yeah, we didn't realize we doubled up on that question.
Yeah, we had answered a beer question a few weeks back with about why did we come up with the beer pairing. And I think we went into kind of an in-depth of how we got started in beer. So we kind of had answered
and then reprised it a little tonight.
Yeah, and then we reprised it a little tonight, which I'm glad we actually added to our, because we gave our tiers.
So it actually, it worked that I had originally had this again on the question. But I will say he also tagged it with saying that he loves whiskey. We won't get into that today, but John, definitely, I'm a big Scotch guy. So you ever just hit us up. You know, we have our chats through social media all the time. So yeah, feel free to hit us up, because I'll give you some great recommendations on anywhere from like really like inexpensive ones to mid-range to some really expensive ones that I've had that I could highly recommend. Because I am a big, huge Scotch guy. So
Nice. Yeah, and I've been getting. I mean, I've been into different whiskey, not like very fine whiskeys by any means, but Olivia and I have been buying like just some random like flavored ones. Like we tried the Screwball peanut butter whiskey. We tried
that one's a good one.
Yeah, and we've tried the Jack Daniel's apple whiskey, which is
if you get a chance, if you get it near you, if there's one, depending on who pronounces it, where they're from, they may pronounce it as Glenmurray, but it's really spelled Glen like Moray, like Moray. I had went to a whiskey tasting at my cousin's last year. They actually, I guess he won it in some auction, so they actually had the Glen Moray people come over there and give us all the samples and stuff. There's one there. There's a couple of good ones there, and really nice bottles. I think are for like $35. But there's different. They get more expensive as you get a little bit higher level, but they're really good. And they have a couple of flavors. There's one that was they age in a port barrel, which is one of the ones I like to get. 'Cause it's got a really nice little flavor to it, and I think it's an easy drinking whiskey. But I still say it's funny. I know we said we weren't going to get into it, but I'll go quickly just because we started with one of the cool ones that I love. Is one of my all-time favorites is Bunnahabhain. And if by the way I said it and the way it's spelled, completely different. So I'll have to spell that out in the show notes at some point, or just hit us up on social media. I'll tell you how to spell it. I've had the 8-year, I love it, but the 12-year is like the one I like the best. I think you can usually get it around $55 a bottle, depending on the store. Sometimes I've seen it as low as like 48. And this one was so amazing is it's a single malt, but it really drinks like a blend, super, super smooth. And it's one of my favorites. So if you see that one, Bunnahabhain, it looks like it's spelled Bunnahabhain, but it's really Bunnahabhain. That one's it's really good. And of course, love my Lafroig. I do have a square thing of land and on Islay. Where it's like apparently if I go to visit over there, they give you a dram of scotch. Nice. And I do have a Maker Mark barrel I did have at one point for my bourbon whiskey, but I never sadly had the time to get down there to grab it. So someone else bought my bottles out of it there. But
I do have a coworker that he's a big whiskey guy, and he was giving me some recommendations one time, and I said just hold off because I got to get into the new house and get like a place or a proper liquor cabinet. And then I'll focus on buying like some really good stuff to have on hand, and then I'll hit him up. But he's real big into that kind of stuff. So at some point, I'm going to have some really good recommendations from him. But so that's always good. But we decided we'd give you a different question since we had explored beer in the past.
But yeah, we just didn't want John, because I know John had sent it, and he actually asked us, and then he's like, unless you guys want to save it for your episode. And I said, sure, we'll save it for that. And then I go, we got another one. I didn't realize, because I randomized the questions, so I didn't realize there was another one in there. So John, sorry about that.
But hopefully you got some more beer content here.
Yeah, we kind of doubled down on this one today.
This one is from Horror Mailman, David McHugh, and favorite video game franchise to play.
This is one of these ones like can open worms flying out everywhere, I think, because there's a few that come to mind right away. I know one of Tim's favorites already, but I'll let him say that one because I know he's currently playing it. But I'd say, let's see, my favorite of all time, I would probably have to say, and I'm not counting like the sports series, like like the NHL, like that, none of that stuff. I probably would have to say my all-time favorite, and I know this may sound like a cop-out answer, but we are a horror podcast, and it's probably going to be the Resident Evil series, because when that first came out, that to me like just ushered in a new interest for me in gaming that I hadn't had. Because I remember we debuted on the original PlayStation, and to me, I'm like, wow, this is a really cool horror video game where it makes you feel like you're kind of going through things. And there were those giant spiders and a couple of those scenes where stuff you'd never seen before like that.
Yeah.
Sure, the horror games you got before that were just nothing remotely. Like even some of the great computer PC games were nothing compared to this. And the franchise, it spawned after that. from movies. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but the next Resident Evil movie, they already teased it's going back to like the horror roots, and they have the diner from Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to kind of reboot it a little bit.
Yeah, they're trying to really get back to the core of the original series. So I mean, right off the bat for me, Resident Evil's number one, and probably I don't know. Do you want to alternate a couple?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
So as Brian alluded to, Assassin's Creed is definitely one of my favorite. I'm a big Ubisoft fan. I played the original Assassin's Creed. I've played every game in the series. I have not finished every game in the series, but I finished most of the more recent ones like Black Flag and Origins and Odyssey. And I'm currently playing Valhalla. So far, I have to say Valhalla's good. It hasn't grabbed me in the same way that Odyssey did. I think Odyssey I put more hours into than any game other than Black Flag, but it's good. It hasn't quite grabbed me in the same way as the previous entry, but we'll see. I still got a long way to go.
Also, this isn't my next one, but I should say an honorable mention just because I think it's so obvious, but I don't count it as a video game series per se, but of course the Roller Coaster Tycoon series for Tim and I is big.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm kind of like putting that one aside. But then I think another one I think that really, like, and these were these guys, like, I have a horrible habit of losing interest in games or playing through like a game like in the single player mode and then end up like kind of like switching to multiplayer and never going back to the storyline. But so like storyline games for me, like I rarely would finish one, but there was one series that along with the Resident Evil, next to Resident Evil, I would say, that got me to finish full games and like no matter how long it took, whereas the God of War series, which I never got to play the latest one, but the first three I played and I was upset. Like literally I would, as soon as the game came out, I would go pop the disc in and literally that first day like play it for like 5 hours straight. Like I think one of them I finished in like
I don't think I ever played a God of War game.
Oh my god, they are incredible. Tim, you would love that series.
Another Ubisoft franchise that I absolutely love is the Far Cry series, and I finished.
I never got to try that one too.
Yeah, I've finished every single one of these. I've played Far Cry 1 through 5 was the latest one, and have beat every one of them, and I'm very much looking forward to Far Cry 6. So that was another one that I'm a big fan of open world games in which there's stuff to collect, and so I'm a completist. It's like my OCD kicking in. Like I like to see things on a map, and I have to go there, and I got to get it. And I've got like 100 of these things I have to go collect and get. I love that kind of game, and that's why I think I gravitate towards the Ubisoft franchises because they're all built that way. Watch Dogs, another one. So yeah, Far Cry series definitely, and that's definitely one of the series that I've religiously played and beat every single. Oh, even Primal, Far Cry Primal was in there too. So yeah, I've beat every one of those games in that series.
Yeah, there's a that's one of those series where I just for some reason never got to play, but I always kind of wanted to. But I'll have to give that one a try. I think I mean there's probably I can think of some more, but like some of the basic, obviously the Super Mario Brothers, all those kind of ones in it. But I think one I have to mention, of course, even though I haven't played the last few, but there was a time, mostly with me, Cone and Dom, my friend Dom would play, was the Call of Duty series.
Oh yeah,
because I think that was one of those games that just like was so perfect for the original Xboxes, the multiplayer scenario where we used to play. I mean, there were times where literally it was me, Cone, and Dom, and we were playing till like 3 a.m. on work nights, and I was like a wreck going in the next day. But we had some just amazing things, and it was funny to see because in Cone, right, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet on the planet. But to see him get angry playing a video game is one of the most hilarious things ever. And so what happened is one of the funniest things is like we were really struggling against a bunch of these people. It was like one of those like those team things where there was how you had the teams on one of the Call of Duties, and so we were playing, and I guess Cone kept getting shot like repeatedly. and he just couldn't like get anywhere, and he was getting so frustrated. So somehow, like, we were playing, and Dom, I guess, got killed, and somehow accidentally respawned on the other team, and kept like snipering Cone from the distance. So we say it
Poor
was the
Cone.
night Dom turned. We said it was the night Dom turned heel, for the wrestling term, and it was hilarious because Cone was getting so frustrated, and cursing out, and before he realized it was Dom. It was, oh my god, it was.
I think I've related on the show before that Call of Duty. I can think Call of Duty for my job.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if I don't remember. I feel like I've told it before, but maybe not. But I was an intern at the hospital that I work at now. Back in when I got out of college, or actually I was still in college at the time, and I was interning there and with the IS department. And I met a group of guys there, and we started playing Call of Duty. And so we would get online 2 nights a week and play Call of Duty for 2 or 3 hours at a stretch. And I got to know these guys really, really well. Well, when I left my internship at the hospital, I continued playing with these guys. And we played for years. At least 2 or 3 years we played, just about every week Call of Duty. And so cut to I had gotten a different position, another company, had been there 8 years, and one of the guys I played Call of Duty with that I had kept in touch with over the years because we had remained friends, he calls me up and says, "Hey Tim, I got a job opening at the hospital. Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm interested." So I applied, ended up getting the job, and I've been there ever since. So there's no way I would have gotten that job without the friendships I made in Call of Duty and the fact that I had kept in touch with these guys over all that time. So yeah, I definitely credit Call of Duty for my current career.
Oh wow,
Funny
that's
enough,
crazy.
just who you know. So
All it's given me was anxiety. Wow, you got to
yeah,
you
so
got a
pretty
career
cool.
out of it.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't really have any horror games. I'll give you a dirty little secret. I don't really like horror video games. Because they scare me, and they're usually a lot of jump scares, and I don't like jump scares. I swear. The other night, Joshua put on Five Nights at Freddy's on the Xbox.
Oh, that's right.
And
Oh my god, you could get on. Do you see real quick though on Game Pass? You can get all of them.
yeah,
now.
that's where we got him. He downloaded all
Oh,
of them.
okay, yeah.
And so he was playing it, and I was like, I don't want to watch this. I don't really want to look at this. And he's like, no, just watch Shetty. And that thing jumped, and it scared the crap out of me. I knew it was going to jump at me. It still scared the crap out of me. I was like, I can't do this. I don't like. I had to stop playing that Alien Isolation game
Which is also on Game Pass, by the way.
which is an amazing game. Don't get me wrong. Like the way they reenacted like the movie with the sets and stuff in that game is incredible. But it's too stressful. I can't play it. I don't. There have been some horror games I've played. I played the Layers of Fear. I played through that one. That was pretty good. There's been a few others, but by and large, I can't handle the horror games. It's too stressful for me. I just can't do it. Funnily enough, movies I'm fine. I watch horror movies all day long, but games that's a little too immersive for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you must love those VR games then, right?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
I know. I still got to finish The Exorcist. I only got through the first chapter. I still have to play that again. You know what it is in my apartment? It's hard, and now with Obi, I can't imagine what.
Oh
that's
yeah, you'll
gonna
be just
like,
stepping on it over and over.
Yeah, because he is because he's so tiny right now, and he's so silent. Like Julie was saying, like we got to get a bell for him because he is so quick without a sound, and then literally he will he almost like it's so he warps. Like there was one time where I saw him on the other side of the apartment. I turned to walk and I looked and he was in front of me. Like that's how fast he goes and so silent. It's hilarious. So yeah, with VR, I mean it was hard enough to get the space, but now with him there, we have his playpen, his other
gosh, no.
There's just no room. I'll have to play it on other times or something, maybe if I go to my parents' house or something, I'll bring it there because then I'll have space. But yeah, but those VR games are pretty crazy. But yeah, I tell you, David's hitting with a lot of these amazing questions.
Yeah,
I mean, well, he is of course a longtime listener, so he kind of knows. Probably some good places. We need some more questions, or eventually his are going to run out, and then we're gonna have to come up with
yeah, keep sending those in.
our own
yeah.
thing.
And I don't care if they're crazy. Like, I mean, they'd be completely off the wall.
No. The crazier the better.
Yeah.
I mean, and seriously though, if you don't feel like you want your name out there, we won't say it, or if you just want to ask us,
Yeah.
But I know we normally do this in the first chop, but I did want to give a shout out to a new podcast out there that I heard. It's and it's funny because I'm going to pronounce it and you're going to say it. There's another podcast with I think the same name, but so I'm going to make sure you get the right spelling. It's called "What's Your Favorite Scary Movie?" and it's a couple, but it's favorite because they're over in the UK. It's favorite spelled FAVOURITE, scary movie. So and you'll see it. It's like a TV screen. So they did their first episode. It was pretty cool because they're definitely newer into horror because like where they're just the kind of the horror movies they're discussing like are kind of like to us they're way modern, but for them they're kind of they're kind of like they're considering it kind of like an older horror movie kind of a thing. So it's funny, but it's pretty neat because it's like it's great to hear their perspectives on of some kind of like some horror fans from like this just kind of this current generation without hearing all the because I mean obviously our circle we talk about such classics but they're kind of their classics to them I think are a little bit more modern to us, but still it's a great podcast to listen to because it just I love it and Tim and I just love hearing that accent, so so it's good. We love hearing the English accent there, and it was it's a great it's a couple. They do a podcast, so check them out. I think they're gonna do. Seems like what they're doing now is like series, like they did Scream because that's one of their favorites, so they did that first. I think they said next one they're gonna do is either Halloween or Friday the 13th, where they go through the series in sequences, so
nice.
Should be fun. I think they're trying to really start their brand. I know they said they were going to do some YouTube stuff, so check them out if you're looking for another horror podcast. I mean, now there's so many great ones out there, so
we probably need to do some video stuff at some point. We post it on YouTube.
We do. And speaking of podcasts too, I'm very sad because there's one left of the Hobbycast for season 2, and then there's going to be a break, I guess.
Yeah
I love that episode, of course with Gemma Moore, Carla McGlynn, and Amacheta Patel. And they do, I've mentioned them before too, and we like to share their podcast because they're a great group of people that do an amazingly, very addicting podcast to listen to because I love hobbies. So I love hearing about it, and they're hilarious when they react. So it's great.
All right, guys. So we will see you back here next week for some more Thanksgiving week fun with another Thanksgiving themed horror film.
Yes,
and we'll look.
Should we say which one it is, or should we?
Let's go ahead and in case they want to watch it beforehand, let's tell them what it is.
Yeah, so the next week we're gonna do Christie from 2014. That's another Thanksgiving holiday, and it will also be our next episode will be our annual holiday gift card. So we got a surprise interview on there, and we'll do our holiday gift guide this year. So hopefully, as like in tradition, we'll have it released actually on. I mean, used to be because we released everything on Friday, but we're gonna try and get this one out, even though our usual release date now is Monday. We're trying to get this out on Black Friday. Not the same impact when you used to be able to, you could listen as you drive to the stores and the malls and try and hit all the sales. I'm sure it'll be a lot more online this year, but it doesn't mean you can't listen to our podcast while you online shop.
That's right. All right, guys. So we'll see you back here next week. Take care and stay away from those haunting blues musicians.
Nobody finishes listening to this podcast without singing the blues.